So now these attacks are there, and our infrastructure, wireless infrastructure, is going to face all these attacks at any given time. So how do we save ourselves from these attacks? What are the technologies or what are the tools and techniques that are available to us for protecting ourselves against these attacks? Now we are going to take a look at these different tools and techniques available to us one by one, which are an essential part of any wireless infrastructure solution. You buy a wireless solution from Huawei or any other vendor, these tools are essentially going to be a part of that solution, because otherwise that solution cannot and should not be implemented, especially in an enterprise environment. So let's take a look at the three major types of solutions, or three major categories of solutions that are available to us. We can have the border security, which is implemented using the wireless IDS and wireless IPS solutions. We could have the user access security, which means that the users who are accessing the network, they should be authenticated, and it should be made sure that they are authorized to do whatever they are trying to do, and whatever they are doing should be well hidden from unauthorized users. That means their traffic or their data should be well encrypted. And finally, the service security, that we should be able to isolate users from each other. So these are the three things that we will be looking at, which means that we will be looking at the wireless IDS and IPS solutions, we will be looking at the wireless LAN user access solution, and we will be looking at the CAPWAP encryption or user isolation solution. So first of all, let's take a look at the wireless IDS and wireless IPS solutions. As you know, a simple IDS, intrusion detection system, even apart from a wireless environment, the IDS solution's purpose is to detect the attacks when they are happening, and the IPS solution purpose is not only to detect the attacks but actually protect us from the attacks as well. So it is the same function that WIDS and WIPS or WIDS or WIPS are doing, specifically in a wireless environment. They can detect and protect our infrastructure from attacks that are happening in our wireless infrastructure. In order for an IDS or an IPS solution, we are going to consider IDS and IPS solutions simultaneously, because they are pretty much performing the same function, and mostly we'll be working with IPS. So detection and prevention are going to be happening at the same time. So in order to understand the functionality of IPS or IDS in wireless environment, we need to understand the working modes, two major working modes of any AP. An AP, in order to be able to detect attacks, what we need to do is that we need to monitor our wireless infrastructure. And for monitoring our wireless infrastructure, what we do is that we ask one or more of our access points to act as monitoring agents, to do the monitoring for us and report to us if anything unusual is happening in our infrastructure. So under normal circumstances, if we do not want our access points to do any monitoring, they would only be carrying the service data. Here you can see, they would only be carrying the service data. However, if we want them to perform the regular or the normal access point function as well as the monitoring function, they can do that as well. They are going to provide the regular data services and provide the monitoring function, the second case here. And there is also a possibility that we dedicate an access point to work only as a monitoring device. Then in that case, the access point is not going to provide or not going to handle any user data, or is not going to provide any data services for us. It is only going to act as a monitoring agent or a monitoring AP. These are the two major modes in which an AP can work, either in the normal mode, in which it is going to help normal data to move on the wireless network, and in the monitoring mode, where it is only going to provide the monitoring function. When in the normal mode, we can either make it work purely as an ordinary AP, or we can make it work either as an AP make it work as an AP as well as a monitoring agent. So if we enable, or rather this is a mistake here, so please correct this. So if the air interface scanning is disabled, it should be disabled here. So if the air interface scanning is disabled, then this means we are using our access point only as a data service agent. It is only servicing the user data. It is not doing any scanning. However, if we enable the scanning function, this means that we are enabling monitoring in the normal mode. Then it is going to act both as an ordinary AP carrying service data as well as performing the monitoring functions. So just reverse this. This one should be disabled and this one should be enabled. Disabling and enabling interface scanning means disabling or enabling the monitoring function. So here the monitoring function is enabled, so the access point is acting both as an ordinary access point and as well as a monitoring agent. But if we configure it as a purely monitoring agent, then it is not going to perform any going to be used for any service data exchange or user data. It is only going to perform a function of a monitoring access point. So what we do with when we configure monitoring, when we configure one of our access points to be either a purely monitoring agent, monitoring AP, or as a normal mode monitoring AP, which is both a monitoring AP as well as providing data services, this AP is now going to keep track of everything that is happening around on the wireless network, and it is going to be reporting those happenings, reporting those incidents or events to the access controller, and this access controller could be reporting these functions or these events to the NMS or the network management system, or to the users who are managing this network, or to the network administrator who is monitoring the NMS or who is monitoring the entire network. So when an AP works in a monitor mode, it scans for channels. It listens to all 802.11 frames sent by the surrounding wireless devices. So if there is a rogue AP, if there is a rogue wireless bridge, or if there are rogue clients or ad hoc clients, it is going to be monitoring their activities, and it is going to be trying to detect if any of these entities exist in the infrastructure around this AP, and if it detects any one of them, these four things, it is going to report to the access controller and perform the actions that the access controller instructs it to perform based on the configuration that we have done on the access controller. So it checks the 802.11 frames and checks for the MAC frame type and tries to identify if the rogue devices are there, and then it reports these to the access controller. So these are the four devices that it is going to be checking: rogue AP, rogue access, rogue client, ad hoc terminal, and wireless bridge. How this process flow works of detection, how does a monitoring access point work? First of all, when it sees that there are devices around it, immediately it is going to see that what is the device type. Is this device a regular station or a regular client? If it's a client that is working in an ad hoc mode, that is capable of working directly with other devices, it is considered to be a rogue device, and this should not be allowed on the network. So it is going to report this as an ad hoc device or as a rogue device to the controller. And if it's a mobile or a computer or a laptop which is not in the ad hoc mode, working in the ad hoc mode, it's a regular device, but is this connected to the controller, or it is registered with the controller? If it is not registered controller, or it is connected to a rogue AP, then it is going to be reported as a rogue station. Similarly, if there is an access, if the device type is an access point or a wireless bridge, once again, if it is connected to an access controller, if it is authenticated or allowed to be part of the network by an access controller, then it's okay. If not, then it is going to check the access point whitelist, whether it is in the whitelist, which means although it is not part of the, not registered with the controller, but still it is allowed in the access list, then it is going to be allowed. If not, then it is going to be potentially blocked or reported to the access controller to be blocked eventually. What is the meaning of access list and blacklist? We are going to look at this in a little bit more detail later on, so don't worry. Even if you don't understand this part 100%, that's okay. We are going to look at the concept of whitelists and blacklists later on. So how does your system, or once we have detected that there are rogue devices in our infrastructure or in our wireless network, how do we prevent or how do we stop those rogue devices from communicating in our infrastructure? So the most common or the easiest way of making sure that rogue clients, rogue access points or wireless bridges or ad hoc clients do not connect to our network, do not connect to our APs or infrastructure, the access controller instructs the monitoring AP or instructs all the APs that are within range of these devices, or all the APs that these devices are attempting to connect, to generate or issue disassociation frames, which means that access point is going to issue disassociation frames to these APs or to these clients, and these APs or clients will not remain a part of this network, which means that they will get disconnected. So if they are trying to connect, your system or your infrastructure will not allow them to connect, and they will immediately issue disassociation frames to them. Once again, you will understand the concept of disassociation frame once you understand the concept of link establishment, the wireless link establishment, link authentication, and then the user or system authentication later in this lecture. But the simple concept is that disassociation frames are used to disconnect these devices from your wireless infrastructure. This is a very simple and very handy way of disconnecting your rogue devices from your wireless network. The other common uses that we have for wireless IPS and wireless IDS, apart from handling the rogue devices or devices that are not actually should not be a part of the network, but there could be a possibility that a user which is genuinely a part of your network is trying to do something which they should not be allowed to do, or they have a malicious software unintentionally installed on their laptop or on their computers which is trying to do something which they should not be doing. So IPS or IDS can actually check those undesirable behaviors as well. So for example, you could detect the flooding attacks through an IDS or IPS, you could detect the spoofing attacks through IDS and IPS, you could detect the weak initialization vector situations. If the initialization vector from a client is weak, that can be detected. And if you have pre-shared key cracking attempt through brute force, you could check that as well. How that is done, or how you check that, let's take a look at that. So this is how this is going to happen. Whenever a monitoring AP receives a packet, it is going to check if the source is part of a blacklist that is configured on either the controller or the access point. If it is in the blacklist, then we are going to discard the packet. If it is not in the blacklist, then is flooding attack detection enabled, which means that do you want to check for flooding? If you are checking for flooding, so is the station generating a lot of traffic, or is it exceeding the traffic limit that we have configured against the flooding attack? If it is exceeding the traffic, it should be reported to the access controller, and the access controller might start discarding the packets from the station. Similarly, is the spoofing attack detection enabled? How does a spoofing attack happens is, the packet would be broadcasting a deauthentication or association frame, which means that it is trying to pretend to be someone, it is broadcasting someone that it is not. If that is the case, once again it needs to be reported back to the access controller, and then the packet will have to be discarded. If the IV attack detection is enabled, this means initialization vector checking is enabled, and if it is a weak initialization vector, this is an automatic check which happens that if the initialization vector is weak or if it is being repeated, if the initialization vector is being repeated, then this means that this is a potential threat and anybody could do an identity theft or crack the web password. So this also needs to be reported to the access controller, and the access controller might discard the packet depending upon whatever policy we have configured. Similarly, if anti-brute force attack detection is enabled, we will see if the user is trying to generate a dictionary of words or trying various combinations to crack the password or authentication credentials. Once again, this is going to be reported to the controller, and if it exceeds certain limit, that traffic is going to be discarded. So this is the process which WIDS or intrusion detection system in a wireless environment would generally follow to make sure that these attacks do not happen in our environment. Next, how would we deploy the controller APs in our environment? There are generally two ways how we will deploy them. If it's a small environment and we do not have a large number of APs and still we want to do the monitoring, we should configure an AP to be acting both as a normal AP and as a monitoring AP. However, if there is an environment where we have a large number of APs and we want to strictly monitor some area in our environment, in our enterprise network, we could actually dedicate an access point to be a purely monitoring access point. So in some parts of our network we have purely monitoring access points, and in some other parts we might have access points which are doing monitoring as well as handling normal service data, and in some other parts where we do not need monitoring at all our APs could be purely handling the service data and no monitoring is taking place. So this depends upon our requirement, that how we want to use this monitoring feature in our access points for IPS and IDS functionality. So IPS and IDS are one of the features. The next that we can do is that we can configure authentication in our network, that whoever wants to associate or whoever wants to connect to our infrastructure or to our network, they have to be authenticated. So the IPS or IDS, they can support, or your access points, they can support in authentication as well. So the access controller provides the following authentication mode for APs. MAC address authentication, which means any access point that is being connected to the controller or get connected to our infrastructure, they could be authenticated based on their MAC address, and this is the default method in Huawei as well as a number of other vendors, where any access point that is connecting to your infrastructure, the controller is going to authenticate them using their MAC addresses. However, you can change this as well, and you can use the serial number for authenticating an access point, or you could even use no authentication, that you do not want to use any authentication, or you do not want to authenticate the access points that are connecting to your wireless infrastructure. But obviously this is a risky proposition and you should be very careful before doing this. Other options which could be used for where you do not want any authentication to happen is that you could configure access point whitelists on the controller. This means that if an access point is part of a whitelist, it should not be authenticated. However, an access point which is not part of a whitelist, that access point either needs to be authenticated or it should not be allowed to be a part of the infrastructure. And then we could have a WDS situation or WDS environment, which means wireless distributed system. Without going into too much details of WDS, that's purely a wireless concept, not much related to wireless security. But if you have a wireless distributed system where we have a root AP, middle AP, or APs and leaf APs, where middle APs are only used for extending the wireless coverage and connecting the leaf APs to the root APs, in that environment as well, the leaf APs or the middle APs would not be authenticated by the upstream access points or by the controller that is sitting upstream. And similarly, in case of a mesh environment where every access point is connected to every other access point and all the access points do not need to be connected to the wired infrastructure directly, if you have a mesh wireless infrastructure, in that case as well, you can use or you can work without authenticating the access points.